What up, everybody? It is week 6 in the NFL, and these weeks just keep on cruising. I'm your host, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo, joined by Pittsburgh John Coker. We finally get together. It's probably been like half of the times we do the show together. Last week I had a funeral to go to, so I had to do it solo. But as you know, it's the Fancy Firebox brought to you by Win Daily Sports, also shown by Heat Ratio Sports, and giving you the new concept kind of came up with a triple threat, which is pretty cool because we kind of get the battle against each other, battle against other people, and we're giving you some props as well. Make sure I'll tell you, John. I never thought I'd do it. Never thought I'd do it. But for everybody out there, make sure you're following the Win Daily Sports TikTok account. You may find somebody interesting on that TikTok account. Listen, I'm having fun, John. You know what I mean? Like, the kids could probably show me how to do it better, but it's all about having fun, right?
Maybe one of these years I'll get into it. I don't know. You know me in social media. It's
I
not my
know.
forte, let alone the hot new thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not my cup of tea.
It's tough, man, but you know what? I'm learning that it's fun. My whole thing is, my whole shtick, I should say, and I tell everybody this is sports betting should be fun. Fantasy should be fun. Obviously, it's more fun when you're winning. I get it, but you got to make it fun. And I'm just having a ball, man. I'm having a ball. And it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt when the bets hit. So we'll see. Listen, we were 2 for 2 on you Darvish a couple nights ago. We were 2 for 3 on Darnell Mooney. I got one going right now for Dallas Goedert. I got one for Darrell Henderson. But every day we're doing something new. But let's get into this, John. Let's look at recap so everybody knows. Our man Adam checking in. Good morning, Adam. As always, got to love that Superman logo. Always Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles. Sunday Night Football. Can't wait to get to that. Last week's triple threat, John. This is what we had. I had Brady, Chubb, and Debo. I looked 2 for 3 right there. You got Brady, Henry, and Christian Kirk. John, Christian Kirk was the one darling that everybody was upset about. But let me ask you this: I have a feeling. I said this on Jacob Sports that I really think that he bounces back in a big way this week.
I don't know. I was on the Jags last week, period. And, I had Lawrence as my value play. Kirk puts up a donut. Robinson. I mean, that whole team. Yeah. Just when, I should have known better. It's the Jags. You know what I mean? Same thing. It's the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, they'll go up. They put up, all kinds of stats for a couple games. Then they become the Detroit Lions again. They become the Jacksonville Jags again. Look, I still think Kirk is going to be, Lawrence's go-to guy. I do. We've seen Zay Jones come up with some good weeks. Last week, Marvin Jones. I'm always a week off on these guys. I think I had Marvin Jones the week before, when Zay was out. I thought that was going to be like he does nothing. So look, I mean, I'm still sticking that Kirk is their number one. Lawrence is spreading the ball around. The whole team, just you don't know week to week what they're going to do. Even in a juicy matchup, you think it's all going to click, and then it doesn't quite click. So I still think I like Kirk the best out of all of those receivers, but I ain't comfortable with him as a wide receiver too. Flex, fine. Bye weeks are coming. Hey, we're all put under the gun to make some lineup decisions we'd rather not do. But I mean, Kirk's the guy to own, but I don't know how much you could trust him, week to week.
Well, I'm going to trust him a lot, and only because I have to. Okay. But no, listen, here's what I will say. You look at his first 3 weeks, and he was phenomenal. He was exactly the way I thought he would be. Week 4 against Philly, you throw that out, man. Listen, he still had 9 targets. He only caught 2 of them. It was a horrible game. It was a rainy game. Throw that out. Last week, interesting, right? Only gets 1 target. Weird game script. Listen, I'm not upset. AJ Brown just got 3 targets for the Philadelphia Eagles last week. Does that mean I don't start him as a wide receiver 1? No. Okay, I am still all in on a Christian Kirk wagon, and so much that I'm looking at him this week, and he's saving me $800 from last week. They dropped him $800, so for $5,800, I really, really like Christian Kirk. I'm going to continue to ride Christian Kirk. I'm going to ride him all the way to the bank, in my opinion. Because a lot of people are going to sleep on him. My man Rich checking in. Good morning, Rich. As always, avid supporter, my man. He says Kirk target share is almost 10 a game. It was exactly. That's the way I'm looking at it. He's still, like John said, He's still the number one guy in that offense. And this is still Trevor Lawrence, a very young play caller in a brand new system. And Doug Peterson, listen, he's still finding his way. He has some really good calls. He has some bad calls. So it's all about a learning curve. It really is. But let's get into the triple threat for week 6, I should say. Showed you what week 5 was. And again, I'm on the left, John's on the right. I'm paying up this week. I don't normally do this. Okay. I don't normally do this, but I'm paying up with Josh Allen this week. You're going to hear this again. The way we do these triple threats is for everybody new tuning in, is it's based on the top dollar guys, based on the other guys where you can get your cost savings at, based on what their value is going to be from a DFS fantasy standpoint. So, if like last week, I was all in on Tom Brady. John was all in on Tom Brady. He was $6,000. He was about $2,700 least from the top guy. So basically, and he got 23 DK. So I mean, listen, that's a win, right? That's a win. So this week for me, Josh Allen, I'm going by the revenge factor here 100%. Listen, he remembers the Kansas City game. They're playing in Kansas City. He heard all offseason how they lost that game. They can't get past the Kansas City Chiefs. I know he's $8,200. I get it. Okay, but what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a Josh Allen who is 4 out of 5 at 30 plus. All right, he hit almost 40 against Pittsburgh. They obliterate that team. Sorry, John, hate to say it, but I really think that this is a 40 plus week for Josh Allen, and it's got to be if I'm going to pay 8,200. So I'm in on that. I'm in on the Aaron Jones train. Okay, I look at the quarter. The way I'm doing this is I'm looking at the running backs. And I'm saying, okay, do I want to pay 8,300 for Christian McCaffrey, 8,200 for Nick Chubb? I'm not paying up for that guy because I'm going up for Josh Allen. I think Aaron Jones is in a great spot at home against the Jets. I know he hasn't had tremendous games the last 3 or 4 weeks, but every now and then, and John knows this, every now and then Aaron Jones breaks out in that 2-3 TD performance where he's running all over the place. He can't be stopped. In my opinion, this is that week. And then I go Chris Godwin. Now, let me just explain to my Chris Godwin before I get to John's triple threat. He can explain why he has who he has. I'm looking at, obviously, Cooper Kupp is always going to be the top guy, $9,700. You bounce down to Justin Jefferson at $8,900. Now, and John's going to show you he has Stephon Diggs at $8,400. Okay, but I go down and down and down, and I look at Godwin, okay, and I look at him specifically from what he did last week. And I say, okay, Tom needs Godwin to be the guy. Okay. In the last 2 weeks since he's come back, he's giving you 16 targets. Tom is looking for his guy all across the field. Do I have to say what happened with Buffalo, with Pittsburgh last week? And not to mention that Minkah Fitzpatrick is out this week. So nobody patrolling around in that secondary that I'm scared about. So at 6,100, and again, these are cost savings. This is $3,400 less than Cooper Kupp, and I think that he could probably get about 85 to 90% of that production. So that's why I am where I'm at. John, you're up. You got Brady. I like your Stevenson guy there. What are you thinking your triple threat?
I mean, I'd like to touch on your triple threat real
Yeah,
quick.
brother, hit me.
And you see our quarterback and receivers, and that's exactly where I'm at. Look, Josh Allen, first of all, he's only had one game under 30 fantasy points on DraftKings, and that game was 24, so it wasn't even like it was a bust. All right. I like the Allen to Diggs combination. I'm riding with Brady again. I like Godwin. I like them in season-long leagues. I think he's a PPR beast, but my only thing with Godwin is he going to get a touchdown? Because that's the only thing that's holding him back. The Steelers D, I mean, you mentioned, we all know what Josh Allen did. Granted, Buffalo is one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. But Brady's no slouch, okay?
Yeah.
And, the Steelers are without Minkah Fitzpatrick. They're without 3 of their top corners. 3 of their top corners are out. I mean, this is going to be another debacle. I could see another 30-point loss there. Aaron Jones, look, he's not getting the the receiving
I know.
looks that he used to. I thought with Devontae Adams going into the year that Jones was going to be getting 5-6 balls a game, acting like basically a wide receiver too. So I do really like your picks. I'm riding with Brady. I mean, there's 3 quarterbacks that I just see week after week with the value. And even with Josh Allen's price tag, I still see it as value. Allen, Brady, and the fantasy darling, Geno Smith. Those are the
Geno
3 guys
Smith.
that every single week I just seem to keep rolling back. Like, when is their price tag going to come up? Ramondre Stevenson, I don't expect Damian Harris to play. We saw what he did last week. I'm sure there's going to be another back that's going to get some touches. But Stevenson looked, even though they were splitting last year, and Stevenson still looks like the better back. But Damian Harris, he's their goal line back. Damian Harris is the guy that's getting the touchdowns. But look, no Damian Harris. I see Ramondre Stevenson going for 100 and a touch. I think it's a lock. I got them all over the place.
Listen, one thing I can tell you, and you're right, and we know about Bill Belichick. He loves Ramondre Stevenson. Like you even saw him in the post game speech. Like he couldn't talk enough about Ramondre Stevenson. So he wants Ramondre to be that guy. I got our boy Nick checking in. Y'all, listen, Nick, I'm from Philly. John's from Pittsburgh, but we still reside in Philadelphia suburbs. And he says, dude, Moore or who's OD? Oh, DJ Moore or Darrell Henderson at flex. John, I'm going to go first on this because I have been touting Darrell Henderson since Tuesday. Okay. And I even threw a TikTok out there about this because now all the fraudulent fantasy sports advisors out there are now jumping on the Henderson train because now Akers has been ruled out. Well, guess what? I was on a Henderson train before Akers was even ruled out. Okay. I looked at him as a $5,100 guy, and this is for season long as well. When things aren't working, John, this is what I see. The offense for the Rams has been stagnant. I don't know why, but it has. And I think that sometimes Sean McVay gets a little ahead of himself and just thinks he's better than he really is, where he's just got to calm down and just, basically run the script the way it should be, use the players in the right positions that you have. And the way they were rolling is in week 1 and week 2, where Darrell Henderson was running the rock and he was running it hard. So I look at teams and say, how do we get back on track? We go back to the run game. We go back to the foundation. That foundation is Darrell Henderson. And a la playing the Carolina Panthers, who right now are going through major adversity. Nobody wants to play on that team. They're talking about blowing it up. Okay, so for me, I am all in on Darrell Henderson this week, and I just can't trust DJ Moore. What do you think, John?
Yeah, this is not a decision that I would like to have. I don't. I got to go with you and Henderson. Unlike you, I was not a fan of him on Tuesday. The only reason why I'm even looking his way is because of the Akers news that he's probably not going to play. I expect the volume to be there. I mean, they got a guy they could elevate from the practice squad who, looked decent, but they also just signed Malcolm Brown. I mean, come on, bringing Malcolm Brown back. I mean, didn't we see enough of him 2-3 years ago?
Oh,
Like
God.
before he got ousted, but they kept trying to give him the rock. But, just because they're bringing him back doesn't mean he's going to get the volume. I see Henderson. This is his backfield. Look, I drafted DJ Moore in a lot of leagues simply because he was falling, and I feel that he was the most talented receiver if I was going running back heavy early in drafts. And it just hasn't worked out. Your boy Baker Mayfield is exactly what I've always thought Baker Mayfield
I
was.
know.
They got PJ Walker in there. Who knows? I've said for years, when you have a new quarterback receiver combination, you never know how what that rapport is going to be like. So I think Moore is the more talented player, but I can't trust PJ Walker getting him the ball, especially knowing that Henderson now has, in theory, the backfield to his. Let me ask you a question very quickly. Now, going into the year for the Carolina Panthers at quarterback, Sam Darnold was there, and then they brought in Baker Mayfield. Now, all of a sudden, Mayfield's out. We're supposed to be the experts. Where the hell is Sam Darnold? Why is PJ Walker going? Is Darnold not on the team anymore? This is like a dead serious question. I could have looked it up, but I don't know why PJ Walker is not playing over Sam Darnold if he's on the team.
Well, what
Not
happened
to put
was
you on the spot.
no, 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 no. What happened was, Darnold was got put on IR because he hurt his ankle in preseason.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So and again, it's those ridiculous high ankle sprains, right? That just
Yeah.
don't go away. And the funny thing is, John, I did exactly what you did, and not. And again, it's funny because you and my boy Jason from Win Daily Sports are killing me about Baker Mayfield. It's okay. I just expected Baker Mayfield to just be a decent game manager that was going to get you some decent points, right? And when you look at DJ Moore, I drafted him the same way as you because he was good with bad quarterbacks the last 2 or 3 years. Here's what people don't know about DJ Moore. DJ Moore, if you go from a target standpoint, he's a top 4 receiver over the last 3 years in targets with bad quarterbacks. So listen, it was all there. The stage was set, and maybe listen, PJ Walker, for no intents and purposes here, guess what? He was the XFL legend. I get it, but he can run a decent offense and he can throw a ball. So you don't know. We don't know, was DJ Moore open? Was he just not getting the looks? Like, we're gonna find out this week, and it could only help all of us if DJ Moore comes to fruition here. Now, Nick checking back in says been in Philly last 6 years. Birds look legit. I'm a Pitt fan, and it's been a rough season. Nick, we appreciate you. And yes, listen, the Birds are legit, and I can't wait for Sunday Night Football. That is for damn sure. He says Nick says high ankle sprain, same as Baker. Exactly. Steven checks in. Yep, IR. And again, Rams defense is going to feast on Carolina. I don't disagree. I do think that Carolina gives a little bit of hope in this game. Sometimes, you saw this in Philadelphia, to get back to, Nick saying he's a Philly guy. And right now we got the Philadelphia Phillies that, showed that a change was needed. And this is the same players, the same group. And within a week, you already saw a different energy once Rob Thompson took over in June. So the same thing could happen for Carolina. I still think that they're going to blow this team up. I really do. We are going to blow it up. I don't know who's going to go where, but I think that they know that they need a quarterback, and this is going to be the draft a quarterback. So, you got teams like Philadelphia that are stacking all these picks that may be able to make moves. Look at Philly. It's going to be interesting. Just look at Philly. I keep hearing, and I'm not saying I want it, but I keep hearing these Christian McCaffrey rumors. So we'll see what happens there, because you do have a Miles Sanders guy in the last year of a contract. Nick says one thing I think we can all agree is F the Cowboys. Rooting for you all this. Yes, F the Cowboys. 100%. We don't need those cockroaches to come in here and get any kind of momentum. But yeah, so I like that. Let's get right into our, we do this every week. We try to go under a half hour. We're at only 20-minute threshold. So let's get into our FFVPs. Let's get into our props for profit here. So John's going, and he mentioned, so just touch on this, John. You mentioned Geno Smith. He continues to be an FFVP at 5,700. Just so everybody knows real fast, new people tuning in. Number one, you got one thing to do: hit the subscription button and hit the like button. Make sure you are following us. Number two, FFVP is fantasy Firebox value play. What it is guys that are low ownership. Okay, they are low owned. Their values from a DK standpoint, from a dollar and cent standpoint, is very low, and they give you the best bang for your buck, your best ROI. So, John, Geno Smith, man, 5,700 again.
You don't have to do much to get value on a 5,700 price tag at quarterback. He just keeps doing it. One of these days, the bottom's going to fall out. But until that happens, I'll ride with them. I do plenty of lineups, so I always make sure I got a Geno Smith lineup in there. Pair him with either DK or Lockett. They're riding his coattails. What Geno does, they do. So yeah, I keep rolling with that pairing until it lets me down.
I don't think it will, to be honest with you. Again, the eye test, like, I'm watching him. He looks locked in, and he does not look bad at all.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I agree. It's always hard to trust those
I know.
career veterans that just, go team to team, never really do anything, career backup. You look at going into the season, it was, is he it was Drew Lock's team almost.
Yeah.
It was looking like everybody wanted Drew Lock. Geno comes out on top. That team, that whole offense preseason, it was supposed to be one of the worst offenses in the league. And Geno's playing some good ball. So,
Geno. In
I'm
Geno,
rolling
we
with him.
trust.
Yeah, Eno Benjamin. Everybody knows Connor's out. Uh, Daryl Williams is probably going to be out as well. It's Beano's.
Genos.
It's Beano's backfield, but he got lots of gas, man. He's going to get lots of yards. So I like Beano. Callaway, look, that Saints wide receiver core is decimated.
Oh,
Michael Thomas. I mean, can he just retire? Because he's never on the field. All right, so just
it's
get
crazy.
off the field permanently. I'm going with Callaway. I don't know if Olave is going to clear the concussion protocol. Even if he does, Callaway should be the number 2 there. 3,900. It's worth a flyer. Andy Dalton's at quarterback, I believe again. So
Yeah, he is. They ain't going Hayden Hurst, man. They're going
Hayden
Hayden
Hurst,
Hurst.
yeah, I mean, a lot of that also revolves around T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins may play. He may not play a full slate of snaps like he usually does. But, Burrow's going to throw the rock. I like Hurst at 3,300. And I'll tell you what, I've been riding cheap defenses all year long, and they ain't letting me down. I'm not going to waste nearly $1,000 to try to figure out what defense is actually going to do something, let alone it's so touchdown dependent. Why am I going to pay up for the luck of a touchdown or not a touchdown? Denver got the Chargers this week. I know it's a good offense, but Herbert hasn't really been, blowing things up. He had that rib injury. I'm not saying that it's a great play, but of all those bottom tier defenses, I'll roll with Denver. They always seem them playing in the AFC West when it's that divisional game, it always just seems to be low scoring, no matter how high scoring the teams may be. When they go and play Denver, it just seems to be low scoring. So I'm rolling with Denver.
Oh, listen, I love it because me and you are always in agreement on that. Like, why am I, defense to me is like my kicker. What best low value guy can I get to throw in my lineup? I'm not wasting money on it because just do the research. It doesn't pay. It just doesn't pay. It really doesn't. Listen, I scouted Eno all preseason. I was a little disappointed, when Connor went out and they gave it to Darrell and not Eno. So that kind of bothered me. But I finally think, I think that's just because Cliff Kingsbury's a moron. And now he finally figured out, hey, maybe Eno can play. And now he's in there. The Callaway call is great because everybody is decimated. And it looks like Olave will not pass protocol. I looked at early in the week, it looked like that the signs point that he would, and now it's saying that he's not. So that's going to be a huge play right there for 3,900. And Hayden Hurst, I love that play because I've been riding Hayden Hurst all year. After week 2, I kept telling everybody, same thing, tight ends. I'm not paying up for tight ends. And Hayden Hurst just is a target monster in that offense. When it wasn't clicking, the one thing that was Hayden Hurst. So it's a really, really good play. Steven says, I love a giant stack against the Ravens. They are my sleeper this week. That's interesting. That's interesting, Steven, because listen up. We're going to get to my FFVPs right now. And I think you're going to see a giant on here. Okay, I've already talked about Darrell Henderson for 5,100. I have him there. He's $100 above, but 5,100 for a running back is low money. So that's why I have him in there as FFVP. Listen, week by week, Sky Moore is starting to get more time on the field. 25% uptick in target. I mean, in offensive snaps the last 2 weeks. They love this kid, and he could do a lot. And I can tell you from experience in an Andy Reid style offense that once Andy finally feels comfortable with you, you're in. And I look at that, and obviously Kelsey's the man. We all know that. But Juju hasn't really done much to say, hey, I'm the number one guy. MVS has his moments. Okay. Hardman gets lost a little bit in the shuffle, and they're really not throwing the ball to the running backs as much as we thought. So this is Sky Moore's job, in my opinion, to finally excel upon and to get those points. And for 3,500 again in a week against Buffalo, a lot of points are going to be scored. I like Sky Moore this week. And then for the Giants, Steven just checked in and he said he likes a giant sleepy stack this week. I like Darius Slayton. And again, like I'm looking, just so you guys know, I go about this a different way. We all have our own systems, but obviously, that Tony is out, Galladay is out, Robinson, who knows if he's going to play. Unfortunately, you know what happened to Sterling Shepard, right? I'm not a Sills the fifth guy. Richie James really hasn't stepped up the way people thought. The best guy in an offense from a passing standpoint has been Bellinger. Okay. He's been the recipient, but a la Darius Slayton steps into the fold last week. Again, these guys are just getting healthy. Slayton was dinged up for the entire year. Okay. He got a couple snaps on week 4. Fine comes in week 5. And he goes 7 for 79 in targets. Okay, 6 catches. He's 95% target to catch ratio. He was catching the ball from Danny Dimes. So 7 for 79 for me. Huge number at home against Baltimore, who's hurt in the secondary, giving up big plays. I think this is a great week for I almost said Steve Slayton, for Darius Slayton. And I like John, you saw John takes the tight ends, right? I like these cheap tight ends. Will Dissly for me. Again, he's a Geno Smith guy. He's in that Seattle offense. There's no more Noah Fant, right? We know all about that. So, you look at Will Dissly and you say, what does this guy do well? And honestly, he catches touchdowns, right? It's what Will Dissly does. And Geno Smith likes I'm sorry, we do have Noah Fant. I always, for some reason, it's like I never picture him in the Denver uniform because he didn't do much. And I forget that now he's in Seattle. But even coming over to Seattle, we're thinking he's going to be the guy, and he's not, right? It's Will Dissly that it just continues to get these targets. Again, not setting the world on fire, 3 to 4 every week, but they're meaningful targets. And I think for 3,100 against Arizona, did you see what Dallas Goedert did against Arizona last week? I think we have the same kind of week for my man Will Dissly. Rich says Font still sucks. It's a shame, man. John Lee, this dude had all the tools to be like the guy, and I don't know, man. He's not there. Well, I don't know what the hell's going on with Noah Font.
I don't know. I love how Seattle, you think they're getting a haul back of Drew Lock to start at quarterback. Noah Fant could be, a top 10 tight end, and they basically don't even play. It's not a shock that you forgot that they were on that
I
Fant
know
was
it's
on
like,
Seattle because how did and that was the first
time.
when I saw Dissly, I'm like, yeah, who would think you get? I mean, Noah Fant was supposed to be the really the major return in that trade, and here he can't even beat out Will Dissly.
No disrespect to Will, but come on, man. Like, you're Noah Fant. You were drafted high for a reason. You're supposed to be that guy, and you just can't stay on the field. Now, Alan checking in with a question says, this is a good one, John. We go right to you. And, Mike Williams or Rondell Moore Rondell Moore came on the last couple of weeks. What do you think about this here?
Mike Williams.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, no, he did. Look, Rondell Moore, he's a small guy. I mean, this dude, you see him on the field, 5'7", $180 or whatever. Look, he's getting targets. He's a gadget guy. He had 8 looks last week. But I'm sorry, Mike Williams, no matter what he has the potential to beast in any given week. I don't know what the heck Keenan Allen's doing with his injury. He's been questionable for like 4 weeks running, and every week I keep putting him back in the starting lineup, and then he's out. Well, got to pull him back out. So look, Mike Williams, you want to talk about a target hog? I'm sorry, I can't go with Rondell Moore when I know that Mike Williams is almost a lock for 10 plus targets.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. Really, I do. Rich says, I wrote him in Denver. He saw about Noah Fant and killed me. I never forget him. As Tony says, he's dead to me. Yes, he's on the DTM list, the dead to me list. And it's funny, you met Keenan Allen is a forever lifer on the Tony Jigsaw Cutillo dead to me list because of exactly what John says. You draft him, he gets hurt while you're drafting him. Okay, he's always getting hurt. He came back to practice and then he limped his ass off in 7-on-7 drills because he got hurt again. I never known this dude's going to play. Steven says, it's a good question. I like this one before we get to our anytime touchdown props. David Njoku or Zach Ertz in GPP this week? I'll tell you, man, David Njoku was one of my huge value plays last week. I, I know Zach Ertz has been a target monster, and we talked about that before. But the Arizona offense, I don't know what's going on, and I do know that D Hop will be back. I think not next week, but the following week, off his suspension. Zach Ertz has been a target monster. Okay, it's simple as that. We knew that was going to be the case. 38 targets in 4 weeks. But again, his average, I say this all the time, this is what you get from Zach Ertz: 7.5, 4. I mean, this dude got 10 targets, John. 10 targets. And he caught 6 of them for 48 yards and get you 10 points. I mean, if you want to put a guy in, who's PPP for positive point production, Zach Ertz is your guy. But here's what I look at, John, and I'll get your thoughts on this too. I look at Zach Ertz at being 4,900. Okay. And I look at David Njoku, I've been on as the number 2 offensive weapon in a really decent Cleveland offense, even though it's being, ruled by Jacoby Brissett, but Stefanski has him rolling. Njoku, 24, 11, and 15. Again, he's got 6, 7, 10 targets, and he's 9 for 10. At least his average, John, his average last 2 games, 14.5 yards per catch. So I am all in on the David Njoku train. I'm going to save $900. Not only am I going to save $900 in GPP, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 25 to 30% more points in production in David Njoku over Zach Ertz. Where you go here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Njoku's more of a boom or bust guy. I know this year he's actually been pretty darn consistent, which is
Yes.
shocking compared to his entire career. He only got 5 drops on the year, so his catch percentage is really up there. I mean, astronomical up there compared to what he's done throughout his career. I think Ertz is the more steady guy. I think you got a more consistent floor. I think you got a cap ceiling too. So if I'm looking to really make out and find a diamond, I'm going Njoku.
I like it. You heard John, you talk about diamonds. We're talking about gems, right? This is where you save money. Like you looked at my triple threat, right? And I'm paying up for Josh Allen at 8,200. So I'm going to need that $4,000 guy. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't mind. This may seem crazy, okay, but I 100% will have a lineup where I have Will Dissly at 3,100 as my tight end, and I'll go double tight end, and I'll get Njoku as my flex at 4,000 because I think he could be that good this week again. So let's get into our anytime touchdowns. This is what we do every week. We pick some guys who we feel can get in the end zone. Now, John's going. You're riding the Kenny Pickett train again this week, huh? I love it.
It's the odds. I mean, this is throw a couple bucks up and see if I can pay for some of my fantasy for the week. Look, I do believe if they get down to the 10-yard line, he's going to be overlooked by the defense. I can see him running one in. That's also his comfort level. I think he's more comfortable if he has that lane to run it inside the 10-yard line. He's going to choose that as opposed to forcing a pass into one of his receivers. So that's kind of a flyer. Breece Hall. I mean, this is another guy. Just like I said, Allen Brady and Geno Smith at quarterback. Until that price tag comes up, I'm rolling with him. Breece Hall, I'll take a touchdown prop. I'll take him as my value play. I'll take him as, whatever you got. I really like Breece Hall. And Isaiah McKenzie, he comes back. He plays a full game. The Crowder's out. Gabe Davis, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a beast, but he just scares me because it's like he did all that work on 3 targets. 3 targets. What if Minkah Fitzpatrick rips that 1 touchdown out from him? Now he's down to, or not 3 targets, 3 catches. Now all of a sudden he doesn't have that touchdown. He doesn't have those yards, and he got 2 catches. So there's no question. You want to talk boom or bust? That's Gabriel Davis to a T. But I like McKenzie. He's like almost Mr. Reliable, even though he hasn't done it, year after year. I mean, he's that slot guy that Allen, it's that safety valve. Think Cole Beasley last year. He's going to get the balls, and he sneakily gets into the end zone, not necessarily the pass air yards in the end zone, but catching the ball and running it in. So I like McKenzie. Look, it's going to be a shootout. Buffalo, the Chiefs, it's going to be a shootout. You like Sky more as a value. I think MVS got a lot of value this week. But yeah, I'm going McKenzie. That's going to be a shootout. Tons of fantasy points coming out of that game. So yeah, I like McKenzie to find the end zone at plus 285.
I love McKenzie. I do. And coming into this year is exactly what you said. I honestly thought it was going to be Jameson Crowder as being that slot guy because they were battling, and it was like, do you go with the young? And then if everybody remembers, like week one, McKenzie really didn't have a great game. He dropped a couple balls and he ran a couple bad routes. I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be Jameson Crowder, and then Crowder gets hurt, and then McKenzie gets hurt a little bit. You see what was it, Shakir did last week, and that's going to be McKenzie's role. And like you said, this is going to be a great week for Isaiah McKenzie. I absolutely love that. Steven, checking in. Steven, let me get to the anytime process. We will answer this. I like this question. We'll end on this. Who we think will be a dud that everyone is high on this week. Let me get to that in a minute. So let's get to, I'll give you my anytime TDs here. And I'm telling you, I'm riding the Dallas Goedert train. If you haven't followed me this week, I am all in on Dallas Goedert. This is and must be a Dallas Goedert week for the Philadelphia Eagles to be victorious. It's just what I see. I think he plays like a top five tight end this week. I don't think he's a top 5 tight end, but I think he plays like one this week. And his numbers, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. His numbers are very attainable. Like you listen, he can give you all plus money from receptions, from yards, and TDs. I think this could be a triple threat for him. Plus 265. I like that number for a touchdown. And the Alex Pierce revelation out there in Indianapolis. I know I'm an MPJ guy, and it's always going to be MPJ. It's always going to be the number one guy. But you cannot discount what Pierce has been able to do. And the one thing I will tell you, I look at things a lot differently. I don't look at numbers, okay? But I listen and I read. And I'm telling you right now that Matty Ice loves Alec Pierce, okay? Loves him. To the point, like, you just look. I mean, he is getting week after week, his targets go up and up and up, okay? 8 catches on 9 targets for 81 last week. And the thing that I like about this kid, as you're talking about a 15 to 16 yards per catch as well, in an offense that's looking for another playmaker, okay, when Michael Pittman Jr. is being covered by everybody. So against Jacksonville, who I'm not worried about, at home, okay, Indy, I love this play this week from a DFS standpoint. And I'm telling you right now, he's starting in my flex, okay, for my season-long league. I'm just throwing it out there. I really like Alec Pierce this week. And then I'm going to jump on the Kenyon Drake wagon. Now, hear me out with this. This is the way I look at this. Last week, J.K. Dobbins obviously is the guy. I just traded for J.K. Dobbins because I think his second half is going to be tremendous. This is a guy come back from multiple gruesome injuries on his knee. He looks good. He's already been in the media this week complaining about the turf at the Giant Stadium. Already talking about it. Here's a guy with knee injuries already are psyching himself out. So what I'm looking at is Kenyon Drake, who got some rock again last week, okay, to get that red zone look, okay? That's what I look at, to get that red zone look. And I'm telling you, look at that number. John, this is I love these juicy jigsaw plays here, okay? But that is a big number, okay? That is a big number for Kenyon Drake to hit. And again, I know listen, you could say he's third on the chart, whatever it is. He only gets a couple attempts, but again, he'll get those attempts in that red zone. And I think he gets one. He pops one in this week, for the Baltimore Ravens. So let's see. We got a couple more comments for, Pierce. Target share has increased dramatically every week. And Goddard is a great play. I love it. Great play. Now, John, let's close on this. Who do you think will be that dud that everyone is high on this week? What's one guy you think that may not play off the potential?
Well, I'm going to give you a handful of guys. All right? I'm going to give you a handful. So one, we'll find out the results next week. I'm going dud Aaron Jones.
Oh, so you're going up against my triple threat.
Against your triple threat, I'm going with the dud Aaron Jones at that price tag. He just hasn't performed lately. Maybe he comes out of the funk. We'll see who comes ahead on that one. CEH, I don't know what the game script's going to be. And that I said there's a ton of fantasy points there, but for that price tag, I can't guarantee that CEH is going to be getting those points. So them, look, fantasy darling of the week, number one waiver pickup of the week, Kenneth Walker. Look, he's getting put into the limelight. He got a good matchup. I actually like the guy, but I think everybody is a little too gung-ho. I'm going to have him in some lineups, don't get me wrong. But those are three running backs that I'm a little skeptical on. Number one bust, if I got to pick anyone, I'm sorry, I'm going Jamar Chase. Going Jamar Chase. I don't see him getting the volume. I see Lattimore locking him up. And the other one, look, preseason fantasy darling, George Pickens is the go-to receiver in the Pittsburgh offense. It is no longer Deontay Johnson. So I will not be drafting Deontay Johnson in that form. Not that he's a huge price tag, but I'll tell you what, the changing of the guard as the best fantasy receiver in Pittsburgh, hey, best fantasy receiver in Pittsburgh may not be worth squat, but it is still George Pickens. So I'll give you, those are five guys that I would say.
Wow, I like it. I mean, because again, I agree with you. Like I'm looking, as we're talking, and Rich checks in. He says, "I think Dalvin Cook is going to be a dud." You mentioned that Jamar Chase and my son AJ. I hope you're not listening to this, because he's been on pins and needles with Jamar Chase, and I keep telling him, "Listen, it'll come. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming." And I'm looking at you and saying, the best, here's a crazy part, John. The best thing for Jamar Chase could be more injuries for T. Higgins because it's crazy, but T. Higgins, no matter what, I think T. Higgins is the number one guy in that offense. And Jamar Chase is number two. And you wouldn't think that, but it's true. I mean, if you look at even for him to get you any kind of prediction, it's come on like a whim a couple times. Like he catches a last minute touchdown or a last minute like 40-yard pass just to salvage a double digit fantasy game. And that's not the same guy that we looked at. It's just not the same guy. So yeah, I honestly listen, I think, for me, I think everybody's gonna, I'll just give you one guy, but everybody's gonna be jumping on Austin Eckler wagon this week. Because they're gonna expect 3 touchdowns again. But I'm telling you, man, like you said, you have the Denver defense. That Denver defense is no joke. The one thing that's playing in Denver right now is the defense. And every time that people think, oh, listen, Eckler, finally they trust him. That dude out there in Joe Staley, he's another guy that just gets under my skin, who thinks he's smarter than everybody. And you're gonna see all of a sudden Joshua Kelly running for all kinds of yards in this game. I just have that feeling, and it's going to kill all these owners, man. It's going to kill them, and it's just what's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, John, but because I don't want any Eckler owners to be mad, but I just think that everybody's going to be too jumped in on that Eckler wagon. But that's all I got, man. Any final thoughts for us before we get out of here, John?
No, man. Hey, we touched on a lot of
We
players.
did.
I think
We went long.
And any values that I had, I mean, I love the question on who's going to bust this week. Yeah, I guess parting thoughts. Look, I still think Jamar Chase will be a top 7, top 5 receiver at the end of the year. He will have 2 games where he has double-digit catches, over $150, and over 2 touchdowns. There will be 2 games where he hits that. That's where he's going to get his stats. He's going to get 25% of his stats in 2 games guaranteed. But he is gonna be a nightmare trying to figure out which games, and you can't take him out of your lineup. No. There's no way you could take him out of your lineup because you don't want to have him on your bench for that game. But yeah, it's going to be hit or miss every week.
I agree. I agree with that. Steven, salute as well, man. Thanks for checking in. Rich, as always, thanks for checking in. Adam, thanks for checking in. Everybody, as always, thanks for checking in. Make sure you're following us at Win Daily Sports. Nick, as always, for checking in as well. Make sure you're hitting the subscription button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you use that promo code WINBIG for your free week. Also, make sure today from 5 to 8, you're checking out Sirius Satellite Radio for the Win Daily Show. The Jigsaw Hour will be from 7 to 8. C and Jason will get you from 5 to 7. So we'll have some fun with that. And then tomorrow, make sure we're on this channel. You got the pre-lock show starting 11 o'clock with Nick and Sticks, always throwing up some crazy numbers. And make sure you're watching the college football show. You still got some time. Last night with Joel and Dave. Joel just took down $100,000 lineup last week, man, like for free. It's ridiculous. Joel hit $137,000 last week. And these are lineups that honestly he gives you free on these shows. So, if you want to make some money, man, make sure you're following us. Make sure you're following Win Daily Sports on TikTok. Make sure you're following Win Daily Sports on all social formats. And as always, for Tony, for John, enjoy your Saturday, have fun, and most importantly, remain profitable.